Dear friends, I'm standing here at the Arnhem War Museum. Arnhem known for Operation Market Garden and the movie A Bridge Too Far. Talking about war, I automatically think of the Cold War. The period after the Second World War up until 1991. It was a clash between the US and the USSR, the former Soviet Union. After the opening clip, where I responded to the question, should we focus on the end times, I will now discuss the first statements that does make it worthwhile to have a closer look. Again, like I concluded in the opening clip, let's only discuss it without failing to respond to our primary task, the Great Commission, which is making disciples. Amen? Secondly, I'd like to point out that to me, the end times are dealing with the periods leading up to it, including the strict period where the Bible talks about, namely the tribulation, the last 7 years. Why stating that we are probably right in the middle of it? That's because most Christians consider the time leading up to the end times as being part of it as well. In the clips that will follow, we will actually zoom in on the specific biblical period mentioned a few moments ago. Let's now go to the first statement regarding the end times. It's all about Amerika and Russia in the end times. I will address Armstrongism and what effect it has had concerning the statements. Before we discuss the dogma, I'd like to introduce a former cycling pro having the same family name, Lance Armstrong. He has nothing to do with the Armstrong we will be discussing in a few moments, but it's interesting to look what they have in common. Lance dominated professional cycling during the second half of the 90s and the first 5 years of this century. Halfway he was successfully treated for cancer, so people felt a lot of sympathy for him. He won, for example, the Tour de France 7 times, but was stripped of all his titles after it was found out that he had been using doping for years. The biggest problem was that through the years, he started to believe himself that he won his races in a fair way. It took a lot of proof to convince him, after 8 years, that he'd better own up and admit. Now to the second Armstrong, Herbert W. Armstrong. In the first link in the description you can find out what he taught. For now I'll only zoom in on one aspect of Armstrongism, called British Israelism. This is a doctrine that people of Western European descent, especially the British Empire, tribe of Ephraim, and the United States, tribe of Manasseh, are descendant from the lost 10 tribes of Israel. Armstrong believed that this doctrine provided a key to understanding biblical prophecy, and that he was specially called by God to proclaim these prophecies to these tribes before the start of the end times. Because of this part of Armstrong's teaching, there's been an interest in applying the biblical prophecies to Britain and especially the United States. This resulted in the view that God is about to focus on America during the end times. And because Russia has been the antagonist of the US, especially during the Cold War, it seems rather obvious that Russia has that same focus. Nevertheless, Armstrong's assumption is not true. There is no mention of present-day America in the Bible, nor is Russia mentioned as playing the most important role, at least where the former Soviet Union is concerned. The end times battlefield is located in the Middle East. Herbert W. Armstrong was wrong, like Lance Armstrong was wrong, but both men were convinced they were doing right. People can be so sure of their own thinking that they can also miss God's focus regarding the end times. In the description I also made mention of two people who have something interesting to say about the US, namely Amir Tsarfati and Jonathan Kahn, links 2 and 3. But keep in mind what I said about Armstrongism. Let's stay focused on the region where it will all take place, because it won't be about America nor Russia. At least they won't have the final say in the Middle East. Talking about that region, next time I will address another statement. It's all about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict in the end times. So, to be continued. Bye for now.